All right, everyone, good afternoon. My name is First Lieutenant Megan McNeese. I am the State ACFT Project Officer for the Alabama National Guard. So we intended this to be a live Facebook video, but due to technical difficulties, Facebook isn't letting us go live. So we're going to record everything here today and post it up on the Facebook page so you guys still get some really good information. So today we're going to be talking about the ACFT. I'm here with Specialist Musio from the Public Affairs Office. He's going to be bouncing some of y'all's questions off of me, and hopefully we'll get y'all some good information today.
All right, so we've got some questions that we've been collecting from different submissions on our Facebook posts, from conversations that we've had with soldiers. So we're just going to go through some of these questions people have submitted about some of their primary concerns, uncertainties, and issues with the ACFT and the information we have so far. So I guess to begin, why the big change? The APFT has seemed to work fine since the 80s. Why are we changing things up now?
So as you said, we've had this test since the 80s. We're going on 38 years with the APFT. The 3-event test, as we found out through some recent research that the Army conducted in preparation for the new ACFT, is only 40% predictor of combat effectiveness. The ACFT is an 80% indicator of combat effectiveness. So we're really changing our tests to change with the times and make sure that we're combat ready as soldiers, and that's kind of the big thing overall. Also, the 3 events are all in one plane of movement. It doesn't test any, translational movement. It's all just front and back. So by getting these new events, we're testing fitness on a whole different spectrum.
For the scoring chart for this test, is it going to be pass-fail based on your overall score? If you failed the one event, will you fail the whole test just like the APFT, or can you get a cumulative score that's high enough to pass even if maybe you fail one of the events you're weaker at?
So the ACFT has 6 events. Each event will be scored on a 100-point scale just like the APFT, but the difference between the APFT and the new test is that there are going to be 3 different scoring standards. You have moderate or gold, significant or gray, and heavy or black. And right now, the scoring standards are based on your MOS, which you can find through DAPAM 611-21, or what you'd fall into under the OPAT when you come into the Army for you enlisted soldiers. Now, these 3 different standards, the gold standard is 60 points apiece, the gray standard is 65 points apiece, and the black standard is 70 points apiece. So when you come through and you take the test, if you are a combat arms or an infantry soldier, you're going to be held to that black or heavy standard. You're expected to pass each of the 6 events at that black standard. So that minimum for you is different than my minimum as an MP. So short answer is, if you fail one event to that standard you're being held at, you fail the test.
So what happens with soldiers that are on a permanent profile? Are they exempt from a specific event like they can be now, or do they get alternate events? Is it an automatic fail? What's going to be the issue with them?
So I recommend first to soldiers with profiles that you start working within your capability and strengthening your body in general. But we did just get some brand new news. As of 4 March, Frago 3 has been published to the execution order for the ACFT. Frago 3 states that there are being alternate events developed. At this time, we don't know what they are or what they'll be for, if it'll be a walk-in in place of the run, or if it'll be something in place of the deadlift or the leg tuck. We're not sure, but they're in the works. And for a lot of these questions, we're getting data back from our 63 test battalions taking it this year that we're going to have to make changes as we see that data come through. And it's all we have to be flexible going through with this. So there'll be changes, there'll be new information coming out, but at this time there are going to be alternate events. We just don't know what they are.
So, in order to train for this test, I know there's a lot more equipment involved, there's weights being used. Am I going to be expected to purchase a gym membership so that I can prepare for this? And if so, or am I going to be getting an allowance from the Guard to cover that cost?
So no, the Guard and Big Army does not expect you to go out and get a gym membership. If you do and you can afford it, great, but if not, there's plenty of different ways to train for this. And as we go through with new changes, we're getting a new FM 7-22 that's geared towards helping soldiers train for the ACFT. But before we get to that, me and Specialist Musio, we're going to be coming to you with some workout videos of things you can do at home to get started. Some good exercises that require minimal to no equipment, because you'd be surprised at what you can do at home when you start just putting in a little bit of work every day.
Are the units going to be receiving equipment to help us train for and conduct this test? Are we going to be getting qualified individuals who can help us train and teach us the right motions and movements?
So to answer that, it's going to be a little bit of a slow process, but the Army is in the works to get an MFT or Master Fitness Trainer down to every company at the very least. These Master Fitness Trainers or MFTs are going to be trained on all sorts of equipment and all different training methods. I'm the MFT for my unit. I'm also the XO at the 152MP company, so I help them personally when I'm not working here at JFHQ helping with the ACFT. Now, we as MFTs, we get to help develop training plans, develop nutrition plans, help you guys get all around overall fit as we look forward to this and just in general. Now, as to equipment, it's going to be a little bit of a slow go. As most of us know with the Army, things don't happen overnight. We are projecting the state to get equipment around June. Now, when that'll make it down to the units, we're not sure yet, but that's something I'm working on right now. That's part of my day-to-day job.
You said that every company is expected to eventually get a Master Fitness Trainer. Does that mean that they'll be making us do PRT at every weekend drill?
So the answer to that is if we're not doing it now, we should be. AR 350-1, which covers Army training and leadership development, and FM 7-22, which is the PRT regulations, recommend that 1 hour of PRT be conducted per 16 training hours, so 1 hour per 2 days of drill. Or during AT time frame, we should be conducting PRT 5 days a week at 60 to 90 minutes. So it's something that we should already be doing, but don't be startled when you start seeing that come onto your training calendars. So
this test really seems to be a lot more intensive than the APFT. There are a lot more movements, a lot more events, and especially with the weights and the deadlift and the throw and all that added in, we're seeing a lot of people ask how we can expect females, and especially small females, to really complete this test at the same level they've been doing the APFT.
So the big question on that is, with it being age and gender neutral, how is everybody going to be expected to uphold a standard? And my answer for that, and this question affects me personally, that if I'm expected to do a job, if I want to go out there and I want to be an infantryman, I need to be able to do what an infantryman does. I need to be able to do what an MP does if I want to be an MP. I need to be able to do what a supply guy does if I want to be in supply. This test is really about identifying the standards and making sure that whoever is in that job is able to accomplish those standards. That the soldier has the physical fitness required to be in that position. We don't want to send anybody, male, female, young, old, injured or anything like that, into a job position where they can't uphold the standard and do their job.
Do you think this might also mean that we might be forcing older soldiers to retire sooner when your joints wear down and you can't run like you used to, but the test doesn't scale with age? Is that going to be a particular problem as you get older and rise these ranks?
So I think Injuries and age are not as much of a factor as some people make them out to be. I think when we really have the self-discipline to sit and train and do what we need to do as soldiers, we can accomplish incredible things. The garrison commander at Fort Drum, I believe, came back from war with a double amputation of his legs, and he still was able to come back from that and be a garrison commander, and I'm pretty sure he could probably kick my butt at some things. He is a very physically fit person, and I think it's all about determination. I think if you want to put the effort into it, you will see good results no matter age or gender. Now, I think some people, if they choose not to put in that time or effort, you might see them getting out earlier than they would have with the old PT test. But I don't think this is necessarily going to force people out sooner.
Do you not think this test is going to lead to more injuries? Asking soldiers to, say, deadlift heavy weights, perform these awkward overhead, backwards weighted throws, or drag sleds, all in quick successions, surely will cause a lot more soldiers to hurt themselves in the process.
So I think if I asked my soldiers to go out and do this for record tomorrow, you would be absolutely right, that there would be injuries come of it. But that's not the Army's plan in this. The plan for this has been around for a while, and the plan is not for an overnight change. No change comes overnight and really sticks around for the good. What the Army's done has developed 3 phases of implementation for it right now. This fiscal year, so from last October to this upcoming October, they are testing 63 battalions with 2 diagnostic ACFTs at least to collect data, see what comes of it, any big issues they may not have seen. This next fiscal year, so October 2019 to October 2020, what they're going to be doing is Guard soldiers, we will be taking 1 record APFT and 1 diagnostic ACFT. And then after October 2020, the ACFT is going to be the test for record. So we are building in time to train and develop our soldiers to be able to accomplish this mission and succeed at this. It won't be easy, and it's going to take some time and effort on everybody's part, but we have a built-in plan to make sure that I'm not asking my soldiers to go deadlift 340 pounds tomorrow. Now, what this also involves is proper training from your MFTs, making sure you train how to deadlift properly, make sure you go through those movements properly, and you don't let soldiers get ahead of themselves. You make sure they're doing the training right. And I think overall, if we get that piece right, injury rates in general will come down. Because when you train your body like you need to be successful at this test, you are going to strengthen so many different factors. You're going to have a stronger musculoskeletal system in general, which is going to reduce injuries, reduce profiles, make you an overall healthier soldier. So, done right, no, this isn't going to cause more injuries.
Will there be any warm-ups planned before taking the test as well to prevent injuries? It seems like that max weight deadlift right at the start especially is going to be difficult if you're going in with cold muscles.
You're very right. So that the ACFT in the entirety of it has a couple different phases. You start off first with a 10-minute prep drill, which just straight from FM 7-22, and you do 10 minutes of that at a slow pace, enough to warm up the muscles, and then you actually have a built-in 10-minute deadlift warm-up. So that way, when I go to test, I can go at a 50% of my 3-rep max weight. So instead of lifting 160 pounds, I can warm up with 80 pounds, and I'm not going straight to my max weight cold. After that, you move into the rest of your testing, and you actually, it's a benefit because unlike the APFT, you have that built-in warm-up time.
So this is one of the questions that we hear come up a lot when we're talking to soldiers. One of the complaints that they bring up most often is, why are we keeping that 2-mile run? Everybody says no one runs 2 miles in combat. This is a combat test. What is that supposed to prove?
So in layman's terms, without getting too far into the physiology of it and the biomechanics of it, your body burns different things for fuel. You can burn glucose, which is sugar, or you can burn carbohydrates, or you can burn fat. You can burn it with or without oxygen. These tests, from start to finish, test your different energy systems in your body. So you start out with something that burns a type of fuel and is very inefficient. And as you go through these different events, by the end, you're taxing your aerobic respiration system, which is burning glucose and carbohydrates and fat with oxygen. And it's very efficient, but it takes a long time to get fully activated. So it's not because 2 miles is the best distance. It's just the best distance to measure that energy system. And if you really want to be running for about 15 minutes usually to get an average measure of this energy system.
On a similar note, as far as individual events, what's the deal with these hand release push-ups? We've seen people point out that it seems like if it definitely takes more time when you're spending this extra moment to sit on the ground, and if anything, it makes it easier, giving you that moment's rest in between each rep. Why are we doing those?
So the change in push-ups comes for a couple different reasons. First is that by going all the way up and all the way to the ground, you're fully activating those shoulder muscles. You're activating your chest, your triceps more than you would in the APFT push-ups. So by being able to have my arms wide out when I do push-ups for the APFT, I'm kind of choosing what muscles I want to use, and I'm not really using those triceps like the Army wants me to. So with these hand release push-ups, they are getting a more accurate measure of those shoulder, chest, and tricep muscles. Now, when you look at it, you also you have two different protocols right now with testing. So whenever they decide on it and what they see from the testing right now, you might be doing the hand lift protocol, which is just hands come straight off the ground, or what people are calling the T push-up is actually the arm extension protocol. So you will come all the way down, arms will go out, back in, and then down, and continue on to your next repetition. So while they're trying to decide between the two of those, the difference in that is what muscles it affects. So the T push-up really gets into that posterior deltoid chain, whereas just the hand lift does not. And all of this has a combat application. Every event in this test has combat application. It's not, when are we ever going to do a sit-up in combat? All these movements you will be doing or have done in combat. The hand release push-up, for instance, it's 3 to 5 second rushes. I'm up, they see me, I'm down. So that's why we're testing certain things. And that's why they're really trying to finesse those fine details.
So are we still allowed to vary our hand width on the push-ups at all?
So no, actually, with the hand release push-ups, you have to have your hands no farther out with your index finger than the outside of your shoulder. So think your index finger has to be on that seam of your t-shirt for a good measure. This is to really get those tricep muscles they're looking for. So if you struggle with those, I recommend you start training now. I'm in that same boat with you.
And what was wrong with sit-ups? Why are we taking those out of the tests?
So with sit-ups, there are other better measures of core strength, and that's what we're going to. Deadlifting measures your core strength. The standing power throw measures your core strength. Even the hand release push-ups, because when you have to hold your body in a rigid straight line, you're utilizing your core. They also have less of a chance of injuring your spine and neck like the sit-ups did. Now, I think overall it's a better, healthier event is to measure your core with these other events other than sit-ups.
So if the Army is picking these events to target specific muscle groups, what all is being targeted? What are we being asked to use and by extension train in order to accomplish this test?
So that's easy. This is an all-over body test. When I took this up at Fort Eustis during the ACFT certification course, the next day there wasn't a muscle in my body that didn't feel like it got worked. Now, as towards how you can train for this, I recommend if you have the capability, start getting in a gym. Get under a barbell, start nice, slow, and easy, but start incorporating things like deadlifting, bench press, overhead press, and squats, because those are your 4 core lifts that are going to hit all your major muscle groups. Now, barring that, start doing things like squats. Squatting is going to be one of the best things to help you out. Straight leg deadlifts. There's many different exercises to tell you, but you got to look at it as a whole and not just, well, I'm going to work my biceps today, as you might for push-ups, or I'm just going to go for a run. This is really an all-over fitness evaluation.
So have you found any particular strategies for effectively taking this test? I mean, for example, would it be better to maybe not go all out on the deadlift so that your legs are still fresh to do the sprint, drag, carry, and run later? Or do you want to go all out in each event?
So there's not really a good strategy, in my opinion, other than with the deadlift. When you go to take it, make sure you start at a weight you know you can lift, because you get 2 record attempts, and if you no-go on both record attempts, that's going to be a 0 for you. So you have the chance to do it twice. Start at a weight you know you can get, and then move up if you want to try for a heavier weight. After that, you're really testing so many different things that it's hard to say, try this or don't try this, until you start getting in there and figuring out how your own body works. I know for me, I didn't push as hard on the sprint drag carry, and I still made that significant standard without trouble. And because I didn't go all out on that, my run was a little bit easier. I didn't have as much of a hard time getting my legs to move the way they normally do.
So is it a good idea to practice this test on your own then, so that you know what level you're at for each individual event?
So I hesitate to say that, because if you're doing it and you don't know what you're doing, you have the potential to injure yourself. Like we said earlier, doing this the right way, you're going to strengthen your body, but doing this the wrong way is definitely liable for injury. Once you get somebody at your unit, an MFT, somebody who can help you, talk you through the event so you know what is the right way, go for it. Start figuring it out, start trying it on your own, because it's going to be like the APFT and then a little bit more. You're going to have to work at home. You're going to have to make the conscious effort to get after it on your own. But being said, if you have somebody now who is a weightlifter and can advise you on the proper form, or you have ways to make sure you're not going to hurt yourself, go for it. There's nothing wrong with being proactive.
You did mention a moment ago about the deadlift, how you have multiple attempts to do that, and there's a couple of events like that. How does the scoring work for that exactly? Are both of those counted? Is it just your highest score?
So what's going to happen is you're going to have your 10-minute warm-up for your deadlift, and then you're going to go for 2 record attempts. So if you max out the first time and you don't want to go a second time because there's no point wasting the energy, then what they'll do is they'll take that 340-pound score. Now, if I lifted 160 on my first attempt and 180 on my second, they would take the 180-pound score, and that's the one that would be scored. Now, same goes through the opposite. If you lift 180 and then 160, it's your highest score that they take. Now, with the standing power throw, you are going to get 1 practice throw. That one's not recorded distance-wise. That's really for you to get the feel of it, make sure your body knows what it's doing. Then you're going to do 2 more attempts. For these, you have to do both attempts. And then they're just going to take your highest score. Everything else is just, it is what it is. You do 20 push-ups, you get 20 push-ups. You do 2 minutes on your sprint drag carry, you get 2 minutes.
This is probably our other most asked question is, how long is it really going to take to test an entire company-sized unit on the ACFT on a drill weekend? It seems like it's going to take a weekend out of our training schedule to go through this whole test with all the manpower and equipment and everything that needs to happen.
So, I'm not going to lie, the transition on this it's going to be hard for the Guard. We're not like active duty where everything can just happen day after day. So for us, it's going to take some logistics and a lot of planning, but like I said, that's what I'm working on up here, is to make this transition as easy as possible on the lowest level. Now, that being said, it really doesn't take as long as you think if you have the manpower to support it. So during training, when I went through ACFT certification at Fort Eustis, we had the Triple Deuce AIT training battalion up there, and we tested a company of soldiers. So 64 of them went through, and with teaching points and the 20 minutes of warm-up, it only took us 75 minutes to get them all through. And we only had, for one of our tests, 17 support staff, so your 16 graders and an NCOIC. Now, it's going to take a little bit of finessing and finagling at the unit to make sure this flows smoothly, but it's not going to take as much time as we all think.
Now, are we all going to have 16 lanes worth of equipment to perform this test on?
So this information is getting passed on through the op order to all the MACOM commanders right now, and as we figure out more details and where exactly it's going to go, you will find out from your chain of command where the equipment's going to go. But for right now, the state of Alabama is being issued at no cost to the state. So Alabama isn't paying a dime for this equipment, Big Army is. We are getting 438 lanes, which means we will have 27 full sets and 6 extra lanes. So what's going to happen right now, the plan is to distribute these full sets across the state to make it the most efficient possible when we have testing weekends. That way people aren't driving all the way across the state just to find a test site. Like I said, this is all in the works right now, and there's going to be changes by the time it gets out in October of this year. But that's the plan for right now. And the question as to when equipment's coming in, we're expecting ordering to be up in April, and with distribution to units starting around June, being if the contract awarded and the production and everything keeps up to where they think it will now.
All right, that's all we had as far as questions that we've gathered. Is there anything else that you think we've missed? Any points you'd like to get across, messaging about this test?
So just to wrap up, guys, I think the biggest thing you can do now is just start getting after it at home. Start making time. And don't let excuses, don't let there's not enough time in the day stop you, because you can always do something. Even if it's just 10 minutes into a day, just taking an extra little bit of time at a break at work. You've got to build it into your day now, so when it comes around as the test of record, you've already prepared yourself. Don't let yourself get behind on this. We know when it's going to be a test for record, and don't let yourself fail when you had this long to prepare for it. I know it's not going to be easy, but that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to help you out. I'm here to help your units out, because it's going to be a change, but it's going to be a change for the better. And we're going to work through all the kinks and the issues and the friction points that come up, but by the end of this, I think this will help make our soldier better, fitter, stronger, more ready to deploy. So just start getting after it, guys.
All right, thank you all for watching. Like we said earlier, we're sorry that we couldn't do this live. We intended to, but if you still have any questions that we didn't cover, please put them in the comments of this video, whether you're watching it on Facebook or YouTube or wherever. Put them in the comments. We'll see them. We'll respond to them. Lieutenant McNeese is here to answer questions. And feel free to send us messages if anything else comes up, if y'all are just still really curious about this. And like we said, we're going to have a lot more content to put out as we continue rolling down the path towards the implementation of this test. So, thank you all, and we'll see you soon.